With You, Part 3, Finale. He opened the door again and I was faced with both of them. Peter, are you coming back? Or... I heard Alan's voice behind me. His dad focused his gaze behind me. He looked shocked, and then that shock was replaced with anger. I turned around and of course, Alan did not have a shirt on. Dad? He said weakly. Move out of the way, his father said as he pushed past me. I felt as if I was dreaming. That man was nothing but pure evil. Father? Alan started to say. Now I have seen it all. I did everything for you so that you could get into a proper college, and now you're here shacking up with this boy, he said. My mother came in and I closed the door behind her. Alan looked petrified as he was looking at his father. I made my way over to him, and I took his hand. His palm was soaking wet, and he was shaking. I'm with you, I whispered. Dad, I don't want to go to business school, he said. His voice was a little more confident now than it had been earlier. I do not care. Do you want to be a sports scientist? You've got your mother's stupid brains, he sneered. Do not talk to him like that, I said. You do not tell me how to speak to my son, his father growled. And you, we need to talk, my mother said, dragging me to the kitchen. I protested, but she had an iron grip. What in the world is wrong with you, she said. I should be asking what's wrong with you, mother, I said. You ran away with a powerful man's son. Are you mad? She asked. Now you care? I'm surprised you noticed that I was gone, I scoffed. You do not speak to me like that. I am your mother, she hissed. Then act like it, mother, I said. What do you mean? She asked me. You have never cared for me. All you care about is your drugs and your boyfriends, I said. I took care of you. At least I did not give you up for adoption, she said. You should have. You have not even told me who my father is, I said to her. She kept quiet. How did you find us? I asked. An associate of Alan's father recognized him in the store where you work, so he made a few calls and found out where you were staying, she said. Of course, why did I not think of it? That man looked very suspicious from the start. This is why I had reservations about moving here from the very start. Why are you here then? I want nothing to do with you, mother, I said. I need money, and a lot of debt, she said. Of course, it was always about money with her. I'm not gonna lie, I had thought that she had come here to fix things between us. Even though she had let me down so many times, I still hoped that she loved me. I thought that she missed me. I did not like her, but she was my mother. I was bound to her and forced to love her by nature. What she said reminded me how selfish she was. She only needed me when it was beneficial to her. I had seen the money that my father had sent to her until I was 18. Then he stopped. Yet she never allowed me to meet him, nor had she given me his name. I wanted nothing to do with him too. He had abandoned me. He was just as bad as she was, if not worse. You do not have money, I said. Ask that boyfriend of yours. He is rich, she said. You're disgusting, and I'm ashamed to call you my mother, I said. If you give me the money, I will tell you who your father is, she said. I hesitated. Maybe he was not as bad as I thought. Maybe he would love me. Then at that moment, I heard a loud bang. I ran out of the kitchen and ran into the living room. Alan's father was trying to drag him out of the house. Alan was screaming and protesting. I did not even think about it. I went over and pushed the man away. Alan was shaking. He was not a small guy, but his dad made him weak. He told me in the past that when his dad attacked him, he got so scared that he could not defend himself. That is enough. Both of you, get out and leave us before I call security. I am not joking, I shouted. Do not get in between me and my son. You and your gay nonsense have been corrupting my son, he said. Get out, I shouted. You're not a real man. Don't speak to me, he said. Enough, Dad, Alan suddenly shouted. What? His father said. Enough. You will not insult the man that I love, he said. Love? This abomination is what you call love? Once we get home, I will make sure that you never had such impure thoughts again. Let us go, he said. No, Alan said confidently. He had stopped shaking and was looking his father dead in the eye. Are you sure you wish to defy me? His dad asked. Yes, he replied. After what happened to your mother, he asked. You will pay for that one day. Get out before we call the police, Alan said. You will regret this, he said as he turned to leave. My mother remained. I told you, give me money and I'll tell you who your father is, she said. No, get out, I told her. I had no interest in knowing my father. He had the opportunity all these years to find me, and he did not. She left. A few months later, we ended up getting accepted into the courses of our choices. We had saved enough to pay for the majority of the fees, and there was provision made for those with financial difficulties. Our relationship grew from strength to strength after our parents had bombarded us. We had a deep connection that we had been building for years, and no one could break us apart. It is difficult to explain our feelings to each other. When I was with him, I felt as if I was home. Like no thought in my head was too silly for him. He accepted me with all my quirks and flaws. I fell in love with him even more every day. We both did very well in our studies and continued working for the store when we worked. As the company grew, we got better positions. Trying to maintain at work and school balance was difficult at first. It meant that we had to abandon our wild tendencies of partying every night. But it was worth it, for we were doing what we both loved. We had been dating for over a year when we made love for the first time. He was very passionate, but we had decided to wait before we got intimate. The night he tried to make food for the both of us, but he burnt it by accident. I could not stop laughing at him. When I entered the kitchen, I could not tell where he was due to the smoke. We could not salvage any of the food, so we ordered takeout. After dinner, we talked for a while. Then I noticed him staring at me. "What?" I said. "So cute," he said. "Creepster," I chuckled. "How am I a creep for telling my boyfriend that he looks cute?" He raised an eyebrow. "You never just compliment me. What do you want?" I asked him. "How about a kiss?" he asked. Okay. I smiled. He leant in closer to me, but I turned my face at the last moment, and he only got my cheek. "Should have not have done that," he said darkly. I suddenly got really scared and excited. I had done it on purpose because I liked to tease him. "Why?" I asked him. He said nothing, merely came in for a kiss. This time I did not turn away. I wanted to kiss him, but he kissed my nose instead. "Baka," I shouted. "You watch too much anime. Let me go and drink some water," he chuckled. But he was not going to escape me. I was not going to let him. I tangled my fingers in his hair and I pulled him closer to me. I heard him catch his breath before I locked lips with him. I kissed him hungrily, and he returned my passion. All thoughts left my mind, and all I could think about was him, the man who had me in the palm of his hands. I reached for his belt and started to unbuckle it. "Not here," he said. I nodded and pretty much jumped off him. We were in the bedroom in record time. I quickly queued a song on my phone because I was corny and I wanted our first time to be special. Heart by Demi Lovato started to play. I felt that it was the perfect song for us. "Come here. I've waited for a long time to have you," he said. "Of course, dear." I made my way over to him as the song began to play. "I love you," he said. "Love you too," I said as I took off his shirt. His scars had started to fade, but they were still there. I circled them with my palm as I kissed him deeply. "I want to go all the way with you. Are you ready?" I asked him. Without hesitation, he nodded. I took off all my clothes and soon we were both naked. He looked so gorgeous, and I loved him. "I'm sorry I have scars," he looked down. "We all have scars, my love. Some in here," I pointed to my heart. "They make you beautiful. I'm with you," I said. "I'm with you," he smiled. Then we made love. Passionately and slowly, our bodies felt like one. He gripped my shoulders, his nails digging enough to draw blood, as we reached our climax together. I did not mind. He had marked me. We were silent for a few seconds, buzzing from the intensity of what we had just done. It was worth the wait, waiting for him for years until he confessed that he loved me, waiting for him for another year until we joined our bodies, and I would do it all again. "Promise that you will never leave," he said. "Never. Plus, no one can put up with your snoring, so I'm stuck with you, I guess." "Stuck," he chuckled. And I was stuck with him for life. We managed to graduate despite the financial difficulties that we faced. His father tried to bribe him to come home several times, but he never succeeded. His dad ended up getting arrested for illegal dealings. Even though it was not for murdering his mother, at least Alan got a little peace. When we graduated, we were surrounded by our family. Not our biological family, but friends that we had made over the years. They were the family that we had chose. My mom ended up relapsing after battling with her addiction for years. I saw my father at her funeral. I got all my features from him. He seemed like an okay person, and I slowly got to know him. In that process, I ended up forgiving the both of them, for I was tired of holding on to that pain for so many years. Alan had shown me love, and he had healed me. We had a party with a few close friends right after we graduated. I was glowing the whole day. I could not believe that we had done it together. "Congratulations, Peter," Stella, who we worked with, said. "Thank you very much. Have you seen Alan anywhere?" I asked her. "Yeah, he's in the kitchen, I think." I went over to the kitchen and saw that he was there, whispering something to our friend Chris. As soon as he saw me, they stopped talking. That got me very suspicious. "Hey, I've been looking for you all over the place," I said. "Sorry, I was busy with something," he said. "What were you busy with?" "Doesn't matter. Don't worry about it too much. Let us go. We need a party, he said. I forgot about what I wanted to ask him and we went back to the party. Then, suddenly, I heard the twinkling of champagne glasses. I turned and I saw that Chris was asking for everyone's attention. As we all know, our friends Alan and Peter have just graduated. Alan would like to say something, he said. Speech, 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 the people chanted. Okay, okay, Alan chuckled. I want to thank you all for being here on this special day. Believe me when I say we are family, he said. As you all know, Alan and I have been together for about 4 years now. We did not have the easiest time, but we managed to achieve our dreams together. Babe, thank you for being there for me through everything. I would not have done this without you. Could you please come up here? He said. I walked and I was by his side in a few seconds. He turned me so that I was looking at him and he held both of my hands. Then he got down on his knees. Alan, what are you doing? I asked him nervously. He just smiled and took a box out from his pocket. Peter, the love of my life, will you do me the honor of being my husband? He said. The people went nuts. Everyone was cheering. Yes, I will marry you, I said, unable to contain my joy. Everyone started cheering and congratulating us. I started to cry. I was feeling so many emotions at that time. Gratitude, shock, excitement, and love. He put the ring on my finger and we shared a gentle kiss. I love you so much, I said. And I love you too, he whispered back. A toast to the newly engaged couple, Chris said, and everyone toasted to us. We both found jobs in our respective fields within a matter of time. We were both doing what we loved, making the world a better place. We earned enough to start saving for our wedding and we put a deposit for a house for us. We planned to start a family as soon as possible. Soon enough, our wedding day came. Everything looked so splendid, and he looked like a vision in white. I could never get over how I fell in love with him every single day. When the time came for us to say our vows, he nearly had me in tears. In life, the highs are really high, and the lows are really low. You have been with me throughout the highs and the lows. I do not say this lightly. You saved me. All we had was each other from the very beginning. I have never loved anyone as much as I love you, and I never will. I am with you, he said. I started to cry a little bit. These were my vows. You irritate me half of the time and drive me mad the rest of the time. You are my anchor through any storm that I may face. We have been together through hell and back. You are my family, my strength. I look forward to spending the rest of my life with you, I said. I now pronounce you married. You may kiss, our officiator said. I smiled as I kissed my husband. Married life was not all fun and games. Due to the stress of our jobs, it was a bit difficult, but we worked at it. 2 years after we got married, we adopted a son. His name was Thomas, and he was 7 years old. His parents had left him in an orphanage because they abused substances. His mom was in jail and his dad was nowhere to be found. Thomas had gone through a lot of trauma, just like us. No 7-year-old should have gone through that. It took him a while to trust us, but in the end, the shadows faded from his eyes, and he was a bright-eyed boy. Our new house had a lot of space for him to run around and get up to mischief. When he was a bit older, we adopted a baby. We named her Nesrin. She was the apple of our eyes and had us in the palm of our hands in no time. My dad, who I had grown close to over the years, was always at our house, playing with his grandchildren. It had taken us years to grow close, and he had apologized for abandoning me. It felt nice to have a father's love for the first time ever. He and Alan grew very close as well. We would go to dinner at my dad's place every Sunday with our 2 kids. Years went by and our love grew. We still fought like cats and dogs, but that was our nature. The kids grew up and went to college. We let them choose whatever courses they wanted to do, for we did not forget the events that had taken place in the past. Nisarin studied to be a lawyer and Thomas studied public relations. The kids had moved out a few years ago and it was only him and I left in the house. We had been together for nearly 30 years and we were still going strong. I was trying to convince him that a vow renewal ceremony would be perfect. Are you sure, sweetheart? He asked me. Why not? And it will not be a full-blown ceremony. If you want it, then sure. But Nessa will have to help you with the planning, he said. Aw, why not you? I asked. Remember the last party that I helped you plan? He raised an eyebrow. I had a sudden flashback and I shuddered. You're right. I don't want a dumpster at our renewal, I chuckled. I got the company name wrong. What was I to do? He protested. We both started laughing. The end. Thank you for watching. Consider subscribing to become part of our Rainbow Forest and stay wholesome.